A lack of information around addiction and mental health issues has led to a lot of confusion. Heroes in Recovery is here to set the record straight and break the stigma through the power of storytelling and by celebrating the heroic efforts of those who walk this road of recovery every day. Our movement is built on the personal journeys of survivors, shining a spotlight on the disease of addiction and creating a global community of support. Go to heroesinrecovery.com to share your story, read hundreds of others, or join us for a 6K race. Together, we can break the stigma.
That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
Yo, what's up? Thanks for tuning in today. Welcome to Sober Guy Radio. Thanks to Humans for bringing us in, and thanks to you for supporting the show. We are live in Nashville at the Innovations in Behavioral Healthcare Conference, brought to you by Foundations Recovery Network. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. I'm Shane Raymer. I'm in long-term recovery. I'm honored and grateful to serve the recovery community day in and day out, and just be a part of it. And definitely grateful to be sober today. So that's number one, first and foremost. I just want to say to anyone out there listening, if you or someone you love is looking for a life free from addiction, you can have one. All you got to do is reach out. You can do that at www.thatsoberguy.com. Of course, you can also go to foundationsrecoverynetwork.com for more information. First off, since this is the first one we're rocking today, I just want to give some love to my family and friends back home in Vacaville, Northern California area. Love you all, and thank you all for your support. Our guests today are Tad and Tami Stringham with Awaken Industries. And Tad has actually been a guest on the show before. If you go back on Sober Guy Radio, episode 97, The Truth About Racism and Why It's Against Human Nature Not to Love. One of my favorite episodes. So if you haven't caught that one yet, make sure you go back and check it out. Tad's got an amazing story and a whole bunch of ups and downs and life challenges that he's been through, and is giving back today in the recovery community and the work that Tad and Tami are doing. So they're both certified drug counselors and interventionists with Awaken Industries, and they're really on a mission to be messengers of love and light and rebuild the lines of communication, which always seems to erode in the process of addiction. Now, Tad, Tami, also we have sitting in Bodie the parrot. Bodie is a parrot, right?
He's a macaw.
So first off, welcome, Tami. Welcome, Tad. Thanks for sitting in with us today.
Shane.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you both. Man, Nashville is it's a trip here, huh?
Yeah, Music City.
Yeah. Jess and I were walking around the first night we got here, and it was just jam-packed with people, and just literally music in every bar, every restaurant. Yeah, tons of barbecue. Good stuff, man. So how are you guys doing? How's the trip out here?
It was beautiful. Tad and I, in our traveling, we do what's called the Love and Light Tour.
Yeah.
And we take every opportunity we have, like the conference and coming out here to Foundations, to get on the road and connect with people.
Yeah.
And like I was telling you last night, Shane, there's all these opportunities. We try to schedule, we try to have an agenda, but the truth is just getting out on the open road and being open to what needs to happen and where we need to be. We just miraculously end up exactly where we're supposed to be, and giving the message, not only just a message of sobriety and recovery. I feel like that's the beginning message, and the message behind it is love and light. And
like it.
How can we all communicate better? How can we honor and respect each other when we come from a place of pure love, and instead of a place of judgment and labels and all of that other BS that comes along with it.
Lots of stigma around that. What about you, Tad? How has this been? Doing Awaken Industries, traveling around. Like, what's your take on it?
Oh man, I'm blessed, man. When we talked the last time, I told you that oftentimes I have to just take a step back and look at my life, and to go from the trials that I've been through to a position of and when people pick up the phone and call two strangers and invite them into their lives, people are private. No one wants to share their dirty laundry.
Yeah.
So, the families that we get in touch with, they're so desperate, they're so scared, and they're just really at a complete loss that their last effort, their last hope is to call complete strangers, invite them into their home, share all their dirty laundry with them. I mean, it shocks me sometimes what comes out during interventions. But we went to a really amazing keynote speaker this morning that talked about getting on your horse and riding into your pain every single day. And it really moved me to hear her talk about that and what that means. It doesn't mean to stay stuck in your story, to stay stuck in your pain. You're going to ride to participate in the battle. You're not going to sit there and wallow and try and get other people to listen to your story. And this is what, everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a story. But, when you can be the hero of your own story, when you can be the victor of your own story and go through what you've gone through and come out on the other side, there is nothing else to do but to continue to get on that horse and continue to encourage other people that it is the pain that molds you. Yeah. That nobody's ever lived a life of ease worth remembering.
Well, and if there's one person that probably has experienced a lot of that, it's yourself. And if you would briefly, and I'm like I said in the opening, I'm going to encourage everyone listening, go back and check out episode 97 to hear more details about Tad's story. But if you would, real quick, man, if you don't mind, can you just kind of touch real quick a quick overview of your experience?
Sure. I grew up in a fifth of seven children, very strict Mormon home. Born into a really athletic, competitive family. Pops died when I was 16. I was pretty much getting in trouble throughout. Ended up in the prison system at 19. Spent 6 years in the state system. Really, really naive, really scared when I went in. Just a lot of crazy shit went down when I first went in. But long story short, I clicked up with the white supremacist organization to keep myself safe while I was in prison, and I guess climbed my way to the top of that organization, and ended up, I've got 10 stab wounds and spent years in solitary confinement, years in gang units, years in supermaxes. Did a couple different state prisons, a California state prison, Utah state prison, and I was also in the federal prison system for about 4 years. So altogether, I did about 12 years. There was addiction. Yeah. There was just complete mayhem. And on this road that I've been on, the story that I was told, the story that I would give everybody else, was that I was a shitty kid, that I was this monster maniac kid. But as I've got into this industry, and even more importantly than this industry, is the journey of self-exploration, self-discovery. Yeah. Who am I, and what the hell am I doing? Stuck to this blue planet propelling through outer space. Why am I here right now?
That's a good way to put it. Huh?
So it is, man. When you can, it is.
I mean,
what are we really tripping on?
Yeah, right. Well, and I like that you kind of, I think inadvertently, you kind of bring up a smile in that, and just a laugh, because through all that shit that you went through, crazy, but the fact that we're like, I think Glennon said it in the presentation this morning, is that we gotta laugh, we gotta find some joy and some fun in this recovery, and just in life in general, because otherwise it's gonna be like, life is tough, Sure. Tami, where do you come into this experience with Tad, as a partner, and then also in recovery work too?
So like Tad, I was raised in a Mormon family as well. Mine wasn't as strict, because mine was full of secret alcoholic and addicts. And so, I lived this world growing up of, what was presented to society and church people in the outside world, and then what was going on behind closed doors. And it was a bunch of chaos and a bunch of confusion and not understanding what was happening. I just knew that I had to be a good girl when I went over here.
Yeah.
And so within that, I just saw this dual world, and it really resonated me this morning when Glennon was talking about integrity, how the outside has to match the inside. And that was the conflict that I had growing up, was the integrity that was within my family.
Do you think authenticity would kind of play into that too? Just feeling like who am I?
Yeah.
Who's my authentic self?
Who's my authentic self?
Yeah, I kind of picked up on that too in there. It was pretty neat.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. And so I ended up unknowingly married an alcoholic. My mom started in recovery when I was about 16, and that was right when I was starting to experiment with things. And so I was like, "Oh, you're crazy! What are you doing? Why are these people in our living room with candles lit and a big triangle outside my door?" So it was really interesting to me to have that coming into my life when I was just starting into experimenting. So I married an alcoholic, and I didn't know he was an alcoholic. And I had lots of therapists that would tell me, "Oh, you're an enabler, you're codependent," and I would fire them. I didn't like that. I knew that I was healthy. I tried really hard to be healthy, and that he had a problem, and I was going to fix him. I was going to help him get fixed.
And so those ones telling you, the therapist, whatever, friends, family, whatever, that, hey, you might want to, you were like, nah, I got this.
No.
Which is so easy to do when you're in
mistaken.
that denial, right?
Right. And so, I learned about my condition of denial and what it was, and I think that's a huge part in being a so-called translator for families and addicts or clients. Someone that can translate that language and not be in denial. So the denial was huge for me. And you'd asked me earlier, when did I have that moment, that aha moment? And that was, during our course of tragedy and brutality. I saw that, my husband was taking an anger management class, and he'd come home drunk and talking all kinds of crap about what he learned in that class. And I was hoping he was going to...
About how they were all wrong.
I was really hoping he was going to have these moments of clarity and come out of whatever he was in.
Yeah.
So I called the therapist and told her, I don't know what you're doing in your class, but this is what my husband is saying when he comes home. And I was really hoping he would get something out of it. And she said, why don't you come to the women's class, and then you can see what I teach. And Shane, it was in that class, in that moment. I mean, I was in there for 30 minutes when all of a sudden the light bulb came on.
Yeah.
All the pieces started falling into place. The puzzle pieces were fitting. All the things I'd learned through all those therapists I fired.
Yeah.
All the codependency classes I took. All the Al-Anon meetings I went to. Everything started making sense and fitting into place. And it was my huge aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I am as bad as he is.
Yeah.
I am a part of the problem. I could possibly be the problem. I'm enmeshed in it. I'm a part of the cycle that's there. I'm not separated from it. I'm completely in it. And that was my wake-up call. That was my aha moment of, wow, I've been living in denial that it is as severe as it is, and that I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
And I got it in that moment. And it was that moment where Mother Teresa's quote really stuck to me. It stuck to me like glue, where it became part of my core, that we must be the change we wish to see in this world. And whenever I have these moments where I'm trying to help someone or help myself, or something's going on, I go right into that, well, what can I do? What can I do? Well, how can I be that I want them to be? If I want them to be this way, I have to be that.
Yeah.
If you want this in your life, you have to be that for yourself in your life. And so that was...
Well, if someone was listening right now and they didn't know, like maybe they were in a similar situation, but they don't know, like maybe they think that, maybe their spouse has an issue with drugs or with alcohol. What kind of advice or what can you tell them about how to take an honest, how to take a step back and take an honest look at because that's so hard when you're caught in that, when you're in the moment of it, like you've been through it. What do you tell people who might be going through something similar but not know it? I know it's a tough question, but
my fire inside's going because I'm trying to find the right thing. But the truth is that if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's duck.
It's probably a duck.
It's probably a duck, right?
Yep, that's good
and
advice.
so if you have the question and it's there, then it's there.
Yeah.
If there's not a problem, the question's not going to come up. That doubt isn't going to be there because there's not a problem. So the question I think that you're going for is a lot of people think, is it time yet? Is it that bad yet?
Yeah.
Like, do I need to do something now, or do I wait and let them figure it out on their own?
Yeah.
And, Tad and I, in the beginning of our intervention life together, we used to always say, would you stand there and watch your loved one stand in the middle of the road and watch a diesel come down and plow him down?
No, you'd run and save them.
You'd run and push them out of the way and save them. So, where's that fine line between being codependent enabling and actually standing up for someone who can't stand up for themselves and help them? And it's a really fine line. So the question is, how do you know? When do you know? Right now. Like, it's not something that you do later. It's not something that you regret that you didn't do before.
Yeah.
You stay right where your feet are and you make it happen right now.
I like that. You said right where your feet are. And I've talked about this a lot on the show, but my homie Seth, it was pivotal in helping to get me sober because he was a good buddy of mine. And I was like, man, if Seth can do it, I could do it. And so I kind of followed in his path. And he would always tell me, he goes, man, if you start future tripping, just look at your feet and you're right in this moment right now. And he's like, that saved my ass a lot of times. And I do that often because my mind starts just going. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. You start tripping out on stuff. And then, no, wait a minute, let me take a step back and I'm in this moment right now. And it really helps to just let that energy just go out. God will take care of it.
Let it
you know
go.
what I mean?
Just let it go.
So when we talk about Awaken Industries, you guys obviously both, and thank you for sharing both a little bit about your own experiences. Where do you guys come together in this and start doing the work that you're doing with interventions, life coaching, and then traveling around too? You guys drove like 30 hours to get here, which I thought was insane, by the way.
So
how was that drive?
After like 15 hours, Tad was like, we really need to start getting Bodhi on an airplane.
That is a long drive. And you all come from Oregon, right?
Yeah, Eastern Oregon.
Yeah. Well, we had an African gray that was my baby, and it accidentally died while we were gone. It got left outside. So
for an African gray is another breed or
another parrot?
Oh, it's another parrot. Okay,
yeah, it's another parrot.
The smartest of all parrots.
The dogs got left inside. The bird got left outside, and my baby was killed, man. So
that sucks,
by evil raccoons.
Yeah, bro. So I'll drive 60 hours, man. I just want to make sure that
for sure.
I want to bring him with me, and he's my baby.
So he said, take that. So how does one come about getting a parrot? And I know nothing about parrots, but they're so cool. Other than they're associated with pirates, right? We see parrots with pirates back. That's probably a stigma that's pretty stupid. But where do you get a parrot from?
So Tad.
Well, I'm the guy that will bring any animal home that won't run away from me. Right? Even as a kid, but go ahead.
Yeah, Tad, we're both animal lovers. Tad is way more intense. I've got the logical, who's going to feed and clean and all that stuff behind it. And so Tad, we were at a restaurant waiting in line, and there was a pet store next door, and we went next door, and Bodhi was there. And him and Tad locked eyes, and it was something out of a movie, I swear.
Homies for life.
Homies for life. This bird climbed down off his perch, climbed up on Tad's shoulder, and just started whispering in his ear, breathing like a dog. And, he was pretty expensive, so it took us a few weeks to really decide if that's what we were going to spend our money on.
It didn't take me a few weeks to decide. It took me a few weeks to earn the money.
Yeah, oh man, I bet, man.
So Bodhi, we would go back and visit him, and it was definitely a connection, and he is without a doubt Tad's feathered son.
His buddy,
he's his bro for sure.
Well, and animals are they're spiritual teachers. Animals aren't future tripping, and they're not tripping on the past either. They're right here. Point. They're right now. I mean, you could ask an animal, and what time it was. It's always right now. What else is there?
Damn, that's tight. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. That's a great point.
And to be somebody who's surrounded by animals, that's just, in this generation, set aside from family and friends, most of the interaction that we as humans have is they're trying to get something out of it. They want something from you, or you're providing something for them, and for money or for what all that is.
Yeah.
And so, and animals, they're just. They don't really have an agenda. If you treat them right, there's a lot of animals on this earth, unfortunately, that don't get treated right. They get whooped into submission and get the shit beat out of them and whatnot.
That shit makes me so mad when I come across that kind of. There's nothing worse, I think, than seeing something innocent being hurt.
Yeah, I can't watch it.
I can't watch it either because I want to.
My heart.
I guess like that's one of those. Is that one of those weird like human instincts where you have that instinct to want to hurt somebody? Because
hurt someone that's hurting the innocent.
Someone that's hurting the innocent.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a natural instinct to want to do that. At least I would think so.
A protective instinct.
Yeah, protective.
That's what I don't. I think what it would be like to work in a slaughterhouse. Where they try to grab these cows by the leg and drag them around on this conveyor belt. They can hear their homies getting their throats sliced or whatever the hell they're doing to them.
Yeah.
Why can't we treat them with some dignity? We treat people who rape kids and kill people with more dignity and respect than that when it's time for them to go. Like they get them a bed and they lay them down
last meal.
You get a nice last meal. Like, why can't we? I wish that we could have that shift as humanity where I love steak, man. And
have a big party for the cows before they.
Well, just treat them with dignity, man. Treat them with dignity and some love and respect. There's, and they don't. I mean, these animals that never see the outside, that never see the light of day. These chickens that are, and I mean, I've had roosters, man. I've got chickens that lay on my chest. And anyone who doesn't think the chickens have feelings, I got pictures to show you. They absolutely do, man. And so, but they're just pure consciousness. They're pure consciousness. If they do want something from you, it's it's food but it's a companionship, and it's we live on a 30-acre goat farm right now.
Oh, nice.
And a lot of times the goats will stick their heads in the fence and get their horns stuck in the fence.
Oh, wow.
And I swear every time I go out to get a goat's head out of the fence, I envision myself being called by a family, because that's what the rest of the herd does.
Yeah.
They cry and let you know, man, one of our homies is down. And I walk out there. And I'm walking up to this goat who's been struggling at the fence. They're trapped, they're stuck, but they're still struggling. Yeah. And it's so indicative of it's just, I stop and watch it for a minute unfold because if humans were pure consciousness, this is exactly how an intervention would go down. Minus all the stories, all the bitterness, all the blame, all the labeling that goes on. Look, one of our homies is down. That's just what's happening here. Yeah. And he's not a piece of shit because he's stuck in the fence. He's not less than because she's stuck in the fence. There's just a bunch of people who are her tribe, her herd, letting people who can help know, hey, something's wrong over here, and then here I come, and although they follow me around and they love me, they're still panicked when I come up. There's, you can see the fear in their eyes, you can see the desperation. They're struggling, they're weak from being tired. Who knows how long? Some goats, their head gets stuck in the fence all night. So you go out the next morning and they've been they can barely stand up.
I was going to say probably exhausted.
And how does that correlate with us, with people who are addicted and who are continuously telling themselves over and over again? I mean, we are energetic and emotional beings, and we are responding to the thoughts that come into our head. Imagine how hard that would be for that goat if that goat sat and told itself that whole time it was stuck what a piece of shit it was. Now imagine what if its tribe was coming over and telling them, you
stupid goat.
Yeah,
you dumbass goat. How many times is it going to take you to get your head stuck in the fence before you know no good comes of it? Doesn't matter how good that alfalfa looks outside the fence. It leads to hell. It leads to entrapment. It leads to no freedom.
Yeah.
So anyway, going out there and working with that goat, because they just don't let you pull their head out. You've got to grab them by the horns, but there's also a sense of trust there, and trust is earned. So as it correlates with families that we work with, you can thank the show Intervention from A&E, that intervention people that call up think it's just going to be this one meeting, that it's an all or nothing, lay all your chips on the table, and if it works and they end up going to treatment, then hey, these interventionists are good. And if it doesn't work and they still get up and tell everyone to go fuck themselves and walk out of the room, then hey, these interventionists are probably not who we should have called.
Yeah.
And man, looking at that like that is just what I was talking about earlier, that human beings, unfortunately, on this earth right now, we want something from each other.
Yeah.
It's not a genuine interaction. It's not a I was listening to something on the way out here. It's a book called The Untethered Soul. And, when you hear people say we're one, it's all connected and we're one, that rings true to my soul. It stirs something deep within me where I'm like, yeah, that's true. but I've never been able to really explain it. What do you mean we're all one? We look different. We all come from different walks of life. And animals are different. How are we all one? With the sense that, and I was raised, religious, and I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. But what this book says is that there's an intelligence within every living thing. We're really not running our bodies. You're not consciously breathing. You're not consciously circulating your blood. You're not consciously digesting your food. There is an intelligence within every living thing. And that web, that God's just divinity, that's why we're one, because the intelligence that, but we as humans, we have our brain being this supercomputer. It's what it is. It's a supercomputer, and it has a virus, man. It has a virus. It's fear, and that fear, that guilt, that shame. That's what I'm talking about. That goat stuck in the fence. They would probably die. Those goats would probably, if they were to get so emotionally involved with this slip up, that's what it is. It's a slip up, man. They saw something that they thought was going to be enticing and it was worth it to do. It's telltale.
So basically, let's say you come over and you help the goat get his head out of the fence. And then for the next week, the goat lays down and goes, "I'm such a dumbass. I stuck my head in that fence, and I just, man, what an idiot. No one else sticks their head in the damn fence as bad as many times as I have," or whatever. And just he's never gonna
it's a trip.
Jump out of that, right?
It's a trip.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's a good perspective. I've never really thought of it. And I love that you said that. What was it? I took a little note of that. Animals have no sense of time. It's pure consciousness. And they're like, I'm gonna ask my dog, hey Brody. My dog's name is Brody. Brody, what time is it? He's not gonna say 5:30 like you said. He's gonna say it's fucking right now. Like, let's play. Shit. Maybe I'll lick my balls for a little bit. I don't know. Fuck it.
Exactly,
but you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So do you guys do you use Bodhi a lot in some of the therapy? Like, that's pretty cool. I've heard that works well with animals.
It does, and Bodhi is an icebreaker, of course.
Yeah.
And so when he comes into a room, if the room is set up for an intervention, it's set up for a family meeting. But when Bodhi comes into the room, it becomes about Bodhi.
I see.
And it's not about Johnny. It's not about Dad. It's not about Uncle or Grandpa. It's about Bodhi. And so it kind of just relieves all that tension that's built up and everybody's feeling, and we get to focus on him, and he's so precious, he really is. He just brings that out in everybody. So we use him a lot because he's an icebreaker. There's always that one crazy person, like, I don't like birds. I'm scared
the hell
of that
you
bird.
don't. Get over here and pet this damn bird.
So I was so excited to see Abby. Her wife gave an amazing keynote. But I'm a huge sports fan, huge soccer fan. So
just for the record, Jess called her a professional tennis player. No disrespect, Abby, but Jess. Yeah, I got to bust you out on that because it was great. And she said, yeah, she's the one who plays tennis, right? And we kind of laughed or whatever. But
no, that's Martina Montanilova.
Anyways, yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
So anyway, she said. So I was so. First thing as soon as it ended, I said, let's go get a picture with Abby.
Yeah.
But so I wanted her to see my bird. He was up in the room, locked in the shower, messing with the maids, and Abby saw him and said, "I don't trust that bird." So anyway, just talking about that, and so oftentimes we'll have that because, just like with anything else, trust is earned.
Yeah,
and so when interventionists show up on the scene, the family's nervous that we're there. The family oftentimes is more nervous that we're there than the identified loved one.
Yeah.
But awesome icebreaker. What we tell families, same thing I'm telling you, I tell families, like, what are we really tripping on here? We are propelling through outer space, held to a planet by gravity in the middle of nowhere.
It's so crazy.
At how many miles an hour? Like, what the fuck are we really tripping on?
Right.
What are we really tripping on? If somebody in this family, in this room right now, died right now, and people take their last breath all the time, happens all the time. If they died right now, would it shift your priorities? Would it shift your energy? Would it shift your thought process? Of course it would.
Yeah.
Well, let's try and do that. Let's try and bring some awareness into the room so that we can do that without having somebody go. Without having somebody die, because that's, I think, with human beings, that's what when someone dies. Well, Glennon said it this morning: pain or love. Pain or love. That's the only way to change. It's the only way to evolve. Pain or love. And so, and more times than not, we as humans choose pain. choose pain, but it's okay. It's okay.
Well, I love how she said too that pain is what makes us grow and getting through that pain. I mean, I thought that was so huge, because we look at pain as the negative, and it hurts because it hurts.
And how to avoid it.
And how to avoid it. So like for me, I use alcohol and drugs. I don't have to feel it. I don't have to think about it, anything.
Yeah, talking about our hiding places.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Man,
Good stuff.
It was good. It was good stuff. Well, we'll wrap this out. I just got a couple more quick questions for you, and then number one, any upcoming projects or anything you guys are working on that you can share with people listening?
All kinds of stuff all the time.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of good stuff going on. One of the things I wanted to mention is that we've been doing a lot of research and a lot of stuff behind CBD, behind the non-psychoactive part of the marijuana plant, and coming from this industry, being that the label is the gateway drug, and yeah, of course, no heroin addict started out with a needle in their arm. They started out smoking weed. But I mean, if I don't know, I just have a different opinion about it. I mean, I think that if you're going to label that, then masturbation is the gateway action to rape. Like, come on. But anyway, now with that being said, marijuana, THC affects brain development. I am not preaching smoking weed. That's not what I'm preaching. But we live in an industry, we work in an industry where lives are lost. They're lost. Like when you work in the car industry, hey, if you do a shitty deal or someone gets a shitty deal or something, people die. People are dying. Several. Yeah. And if there's another way, if there's another avenue that we can explore that is going to help us evolve as an industry. There is an opioid epidemic. It's just now getting started to talk about on the news, where newscasters are starting to say it. This has been going on for a minute, man, and people are still believing that. And opium's an amazing drug. It allows us to open people up and work on their hearts. It allows us to work on people's backs. But it's killing people. Yeah. It's poison to the human body, and when you're coming off of it, that your body has a reaction to that. And so that's something that we're working on and really trying to step lightly, because I know how sensitive it is of a subject. Yeah, and
I'm so glad you brought this up right now, actually, Tad, because I just had a friend who's going to come on in just a couple of weeks, actually, and he just recently hit a year, and he said, well, I wasn't going to bring this up. I haven't talked to him in depth in really a long time. And he said, he goes, a lot of people don't know if, he said, I consider myself sober. I can't remember what he's diagnosed with, but rather than take prescription pills, which the doctor tried to prescribe him, he chose to go down the route to do edibles. Because and he said it's done nothing but good for him. He doesn't smoke pot to get high. It's medicine for him. And so there was this kind of stigma even behind that, like where he would question sometimes, well, am I sober? Because some people say I'm not sober. I feel sober, you know what I mean? And I think I don't even know how to address that right now. It's not really what I'm trying to get into, I guess. Yeah. But I want to hear more about your take on this.
I would love to do a whole show on it, man.
Let's do it. Let's
and that when we were in Oregon, that was one of the main things that started happening for us is as interventionists, you don't know how many times, Shane, we've ended up with somebody in our house because the treatment center couldn't take them that day. Their insurance wasn't clearing for some weird reason. For whatever reason, they're in our house and they're detoxing. And we're like, what the fuck are we going to do? And so, medical marijuana has saved those people so many times. And, for Tad and I, looking at, like what you said, is them using marijuana instead of Prozac, instead of Xanax to get off alcohol, instead of a Valium, instead of methadone, instead of Suboxone. Is that mean they're sober or they're not? I don't know, and I really don't care. Yeah. What I do know is that through our research, through doing that on our own and seeing the effects that it has on people, that the CBD part of it, that's the medical part of the plant. That's what helps people, and it's huge. And you can get it from THC or you can get it from hemp that is non-psychoactive. And so Tad and I are really just educating ourselves and trying to figure out what the heck we can do, I almost feel like an activist about it now at this point.
I was just going to say, I really do. Let's set something up later on to dive into this more, because like my buddy and I had talked about recently, I don't think that it's something that is, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not an expert at it, in the field by any means, but it doesn't seem like it's being talked about enough, and there's a really harsh stigma behind it because people don't want to fucking address it. Because of that stigma, everyone's fucking kind of tippy-toeing around it. But like, is it working or is it not working? I think that's what the question comes down to. And everybody's different. Everyone kind of has different programs, different things that work. But something important to talk about. So that's really cool. You guys are doing that.
Well,
I love that.
And I have no problem in saying that I predict that medical marijuana will be used in the detoxing of people who are addicted to these drugs where the body gets physically dependent. Alcohol, heroin. It will be because you can't. I think that it's rolling so hard downhill right now. And with that being said, like, I respect the 12 steps immensely.
Sure, absolutely.
I respect the guys that go up there and get their chips, and that because it literally saved their lives.
Yeah.
But when you're going up and you're collecting a chip and you're on medication that taken as directed will kill you, and you're not going up and getting a chip when you're taking medication, I mean, that's what people take medication to sleep, people take medication for anxiety, people take medication for depression. Medical marijuana has the ability to treat all of those things. And it's right from a plant in the ground. Like, I mean, we have an endocannabinoid system in our body. Just to give you a short brief, you have a system in your body that has been hardwired to receive this, that is directly linked to your immune system, your neurological system, and it has been completely shut down since the 20s, since our government removed hemp from our diets. Hemp used to be, and I'm not even wanting to get into the whole smoking weed.
Well, because I know there's so much history behind all of this. And
so much.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine our animals used to eat the hemp that was growing in our land. And so we were getting this cannabis from the animals that we were eating because they were getting it into their body. And so our systems back in the day were getting it. Then our government shut it down. Yeah. And so Americans don't have access to that part of the cannabis plant that
they're starting to get more now because you can buy hemp products, you can buy stuff on, but I tell people all the time, you're trying to argue a point from government standpoint. You argue with God. We have an endocannabinoid system in our body. We are hardwired to receive it. Argue with Him. Yeah.
Jesus don't make no mistakes.
I don't want to argue.
Well, because you start thinking of it from that perspective. I think that a lot of the stigma behind it is looked at from a political perspective. It's not looked at, or a money perspective, or whatever. It's not looked at from that healing perspective. I mean, I know a great guy who lost his life to a brain tumor within, I think, 10 months before, from when he found out to when he finally passed away. And, during at least those 10 months, that medical marijuana at least made his life, livable and somewhat as pleasant as your life, I guess, can be, in knowing that you're going to, pass away at some point.
Getting involved in what we've been involved in recently, I can't tell you the number of people that I've seen that just literal miracles. People that are not supposed to be walking around and living because the doctors had told them, go home, there's nothing else we can do for you. And unfortunately, a lot of times with humans, that's when they are willing, but not until then. And by that time, I mean, if he would have got on this stuff in the very beginning, he'd probably still be here. Yeah. But instead he probably did all of the, the chemo and the radiation and anything else that they wanted him to do. And anyway, I mean, I don't want to get off on a tangent.
Well, no, that's cool, man. But I think, for this show's sake, we'll wrap this up, but let's definitely connect soon on that. And I'd like to do a whole show about it because I'm getting schooled on it myself, which is awesome. I'll dig into it a little bit more. And then, I think that you're right in that you're starting to do like advocacy work in that field, and it's only going to continue to grow. So it's really cool.
Well, and just real quickly before we get done here, I'm glad that we got to do this together because there's a beautiful magic that happens with our team and the team of me and Tad, and it includes Bodie the bird too. Tad has that she talked this morning about being a translator.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me huge, because that's what I feel like a lot of times is, Tad and I aren't delivering a new message that these people have never heard. We're not presenting something that they've never experienced. We're translating information, and Tad has a way of translating what the family wants to that person so that they understand it. And I can translate to the family, because I've been in that position. I've been in the denial. I've been in that enabling a codependency. And so I know that path. And I think it's a beautiful, magical experience that we offer.
Absolutely. Well, if folks out there want to reach out to you, they want to get more information, where could they do that?
Our phone number is real easy. If they want to try to remember that, it's 866-96-SOBER. Goes right there with that.
866-96-SOBER.
And that's a hotline that rings directly to Tad and I's cell phones. And our website is www.awakenindustries.net.
Thanks for tuning in today, live from Nashville at the Innovations in Behavioral Healthcare Conference, brought to you by Foundations Recovery Network. For more information, you can go to www.thatsoberguy.com. Peace, love, respect. Keep your blood clean.